Decorative lighting is used throughout the year by businesses and homeowners alike to add a little flair to outdoor spaces. Of course, this is especially true during the holiday season. This presents an opportunity for some contractors to supplement their income by installing holiday lighting during what would normally be a slower time of year for their business. In this video, we'll provide some tips for installing C9 string lights on a shingled residential roofline. Before we begin though, it's important to mention that every installer should have safety as their #1 concern. Be sure to consult local ordinances, state laws, and OSHA regulations to ensure that your employees work safely and that you are aware of what's permitted with regards to installing temporary lighting. After determining which sections of the roof you plan to light, take photos of the structure from as many angles as needed to help you with the design. You can use these photos to create a diagram showing the layout of the design along with the measurements for each section. The photos will also be used by the installers to ensure that the installation is done according to plan. Take note of the architectural features of the roofline, including the gables, dormers, ridge lines, valleys, and gutters. Be sure to indicate the location of power sources as well as where you plan on making connections in your display. For our demonstration, since it's a relatively small job, we'll be using these 100-foot pre-made C9 socketed stringers with 12-inch spacing. Ewing also offers both C9 and C7 socketed wire in 1,000-foot spools with sockets spaced at either 12 or 15 inches. Using bulk wire allows you to custom cut lengths for a cleaner look with fewer plug connections while keeping your overall material costs down. To estimate how much socket wire will be needed, measure the length of each section of roof line you plan to light using a measuring wheel or tape. Another way to take measurements without having to be on site is to use the measure distance feature of Google Maps or Google Earth. With the satellite view enabled, zoom in on the property. Then right-click on the starting point of your first run of wire. Select measure distance from the list. Then click the end point of the run. Repeat this process for each section and note the measurements on your diagram. To account for gable peaks, instead of making a straight line, make a triangle that best illustrates the pitch of the roof line. Finally, measure the distance for any jumper wire that you may need. Rather than using bulky extension cords, lamp cord, also called zip wire, is used as a jumper to move power from one section of lighting to another, or from the power source to the starting point of the display. Once the design process is complete, you can prepare for the installation. If using bulk wire, start by cutting the lengths of C9 socketed wire to match the measurements for each section. Be conservative with your lengths. You can trim any excess off when you reach the end of the section. When using bulk rolls of wire, making jumpers, or if you need to trim excess off a pre-made strand, you will need to add male and female zip plugs, commonly referred to as vampire plugs. Be aware that there are two types of lighting wire and plugs, SPT1 and SPT2. SPT2 has a thicker insulation, so if you're using this type of wire, make sure that you use SPT2 plugs. They have longer prongs needed to pierce through the thicker insulation. When connecting a plug, it's important to maintain polarity. You'll notice that one of the wires on the zip cord is ribbed and the other is smooth. The ribbed wire should always be connected to the wide-bladed side, which is the neutral side of the plug. To connect a plug, separate the two wires by 1/4 inch, then slide the two ends into the slot at the enclosed end of the plug. You'll notice there's a plastic divider at the bottom of the hole that keeps the wire ends separated to prevent arcing. Press both ends of the wire all the way down to the bottom of the slot, making sure that the wires are separated by the divider. Next, fold the wire over the two prongs and press down firmly so that the prongs pierce the insulation and make contact with the wire inside. Finally, slide the backing cover over the opening bevel side first. This will secure the wire in place. Be aware you should never have an exposed male plug. A female plug should always be at the end of the directional flow of power. The female plugs can also be used to create an inline connection for a drop to jumper wire, or another string of lights or a wreath. Simply snap off the closed side of the plug and lay the wire across the prongs. Again, make sure that the ribbed wire is on the wide-bladed side of the channel. Slide the cover on to complete the connection. Next, install the bulbs as well as the clips you plan to use. Ewing has several options of high-quality shatterproof bulbs to choose from, as well as a wide variety of clips and tabs to fit your particular application. This includes tabs that slip under shingles or all-in-one clips that can be used on shingles and gutters. Once you have all the bulbs and clips installed, test the string to make sure it's all working before you hang the lights. As you hang the lights, keep in mind that for a clean, professional look, you will want to place a socket at each corner of the roof line, as well as at the peak of each gable. It's okay if you end up with a little bit of slack in between lights as long as you keep your spacing consistent. Also note that bulb orientation may change between vertical and horizontal, depending on what you're clipping to. This is okay and will not affect the look of the display at night. To transition to another section of lighting where you do not want to have lights in between, cut the socketed wire, install a female zip plug, then use a length of zip wire with a male plug on one end and a female on the other to make the transition to the next section of roof line. You can also use zip wire to move power to the yard to light trees, shrubs, and other elements of the landscape. To make removing the lights and clips at the end of the season easier, consider using a clip that can be secured to the socket when installing the bulb. This will ensure that when you pull the light string down, the clips come with it. While we covered some of the basics for holiday lighting design and installation in this video, there's a lot more product options to choose from and more detailed information on design and installation available from Ewing. To learn more, stop into your local Ewing branch or visit our holiday lighting page online at ewingirrigation.com.